New York 2022 against Chuck Schumer. And this is going to be a short program. I'm going to be joined also by Jose Vega. Dennis Speed is not here because he is working to assemble a conference this weekend of the Schiller Institute, which is going to be extraordinary and urgently needed. But I'll get to that in a minute. Since the first panel of the conference is actually focused on the question of culture and what kind of culture is needed for the United States and the world to come through the crisis we currently face, I thought I would open with some music. We're going to hear H.T. Burley's arrangement of There Is a Balm in Gilead, sung by soprano Lisa Bryce.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. If you can't preach like Peter, if you can't pray like Paul, go home and tell your neighbor he died to save us all. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. To heal the sin-sick soul.
Great. That was beautiful. Now, what I'd like to do is just say a few things about what's happening in the world. It is definitely a serious problem to have the President of the United States suffering from age, perhaps dementia. And what I'm referring to is not Biden falling up the stairs, getting onto Air Force One, which I know has been circulating widely, but his comments in an interview with Stephanopoulos, where he was asked, do you think Putin is a killer? And he said, yes. Now, we've been through 4+ years of fake news and false accusations against Russia. Russia did not hack the 2016 election. They did not hack the 2020 election. Nancy Pelosi thought that Donald Trump was calling Putin at the onset of the break-in in the Capitol on January 6th. This is all complete nonsense. And Putin, furthermore, did not kill or was not behind the poisoning of Skripal was not trying to kill Navalny. In fact, he had Navalny be sent to Germany for treatment. So we've had lie upon lie against the major nuclear superpower. And now we have the president of the United States calling the president of Russia a killer. And while Putin, who is very tough, took it with a kind of sharp sense of humor, basically saying takes one to know one, and then he wished President Biden good health. The deputy speaker of the Russian Federation Council, Konstantin Kosachev, said on Thursday on Facebook, quote, "Such remarks cannot be tolerated under any circumstances and will inevitably raise tensions between our countries." The recall of the Russian ambassador to the United States, that is, Ambassador Antonov, has been recalled to Russia on an open-ended basis for talks, is a prompt, adequate, and the only sensible response in such a situation. I suspect that if the United States fails to provide an explanation and apology, it won't end there. This is a fault line. These boorish remarks have killed off all expectations that the new US administration will pursue a new policy toward Russia. Evaluations like these from statesmen of such a high rank are generally unacceptable. And he goes on to say that these remarks come from the president of a country, quote, "that drops a bomb somewhere in the world every 12 minutes, according to experts, and as a result has killed over 500,000 people since 2001 in illegal wars." Could you comment on that, Mr. Biden? Dmitry Medvedev, who had been the prime minister of Russia, now he's the deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, gave an interview to TASS. He said of Biden, "He gave the impression of a reasonable person when I met with the incumbent vice president at various international events. However, time hasn't been kind to him." So the world can see that we're dealing with a president of the United States who has lost his marbles, or at least some of them, or certainly doesn't have them all on a bad day. And this is extremely dangerous because you have Kamala Harris, who is handling foreign policy, who has no qualifications to do so, being an opportunistic, lying prosecutor does not make you qualified to be talking with heads of state around the world. I seriously doubt she has the background in history or international relations to be doing this. And I doubt her intentions, knowing her very close relationship to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. So this is very dangerous, and the world is very alarmed by this situation. And I think this really underscores the urgency of the Schiller Institute conference tomorrow. So what I'd like to do is ask Jose to show up here on the screen with me, and we can tell you a little bit. Hi, Jose.
Hello, hi there. My name is Jose Vega. As Diane said, I'm here in New York City, and tomorrow's conference I think is going to be great. I've been working a lot with the editing and recording sessions of some of the panels, particularly the first and fourth panels, and somebody described them to me as a big blockbuster of what's going to be happening tomorrow. I mean, we have, I think, 37 speakers, some crazy number like that. I mean,
I would believe it. I would believe it. And I'll just say Helga's keynote, given what's happening with Russia, and there's also they had this meeting in Alaska of our Secretary of State Blinken with, I have to make sure I get the name right, it was the CCP Foreign Affairs Chief Yang Jiechi met with our Secretary of State in Alaska. Also, that did not go very well. We're offending everybody. I mean, we shouldn't be naive about what people know about what goes on in the United States. I believe that we have the highest number of people per capita in prison of any country on the planet. So right there, does that mean that we have a particularly criminalized population? Does it mean we have a criminal judicial system? I would say yes, it means both. And this is why this question of culture is so important. So given the extreme danger, Helga has actually changed her speech for the keynote, which was going to be focused on culture and universal history. She now wants to, I think, sound the alarm bell, and it's the title of her keynote address will be, "Will human history end in tragedy or continue in a new paradigm?" So that's how she will be starting the conference. And then Dennis Speed, whom everyone watching this show knows as my co-host here and one of the key organizers of LaRouche's Manhattan Project, will be doing a keynote speech on the question of American culture and what's happened to it, which will feature, I don't want to say more about it because I want people to see it, but I think it's going to be very good. Have you seen it, Jose? Were you involved in editing the videos for that?
Yeah, I mean, without spoiling too much, because a lot of it is it's really good for. We have there's a recitation of Simon Estes reading out the Gettysburg Address and the second inaugural address as well, and it feels like he's reading a poem, really. And I think Dennis Speed will go into why that is in tomorrow's presentation. I mean, tomorrow's conference is going to be, if people watch it, I really do think that they will get a better sense of the situation of the world and why we are in something that's beyond it's almost beyond repair. I was speaking to my mother today, who told me that her coworker on the bus, she works as a bus aide, she told me the bus driver said, the world is fine right now. The world is great. America is wonderful. I mean, Biden just gave all of us $1,400 checks. We got rid of that racist president, and there's nothing wrong with America anymore. Everybody here can make it. And so it made me kind of think about what exactly do people really know or are aware of in the country. I mean, are people focused mostly on themselves? Is that just something that has been imposed on people to only focus on themselves? I mean, in school, I was told that the American dream is to make as much money as you can and then retire, hopefully, and never have to work a day in your life again. So why should you care about what other people are going through? It should, what is your career is what I'm told. But no, I mean, this is going to, I think, open up a lot of eyes as to the real situation of the world and what's actually causing it. Because I think what sets us apart from anybody else is that we don't say what's wrong with the world and then that's it. I mean, we have legitimate solutions that will work because they've worked already before in the past. It's not necessarily new or revolutionary what we're proposing. It's happened before. I mean, with Roosevelt's CCC project or the Reconstruction that Lincoln envisioned after the Civil War, or with the space program that Kennedy started. I mean, these are things that have happened before. And so I think all that this conference is going to do is just remind us of what we can do, what we've already done, and what we're capable of. I mean, the real beauty of our creativity has really yet to be been shown physically. And so I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. In a minute, I want you to actually show the page from the schillerinstitute.com, which shows people this, but I'll just say a little bit more on the first panel. So as I said, Helga's giving this really devastating keynote address, then Dennis Speed. Dennis will be followed by Liliana Celani, who is the leader of our organization in Italy and is going to speak about Dante. And it is the 700th anniversary of the death of Dante this year. Her presentation is called Dante's Commedia, The Way from Hell to Science and Space Exploration. And then I am speaking, and I have a presentation called Beethoven in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I'm not going to say more about that. You'll have to listen in. Carolina Dominguez from the Schiller Institute in Mexico is going. She's one of our youth movement leaders, and she's going to speak about the crisis in education. And then Megan DeBroat will be speaking about the 3 Mars missions. And then following that, the second panel, and by the way, it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. From 10 to 1 is the morning panel, and then the afternoon is 2 to 5 Eastern Daylight Time. Do you have a picture of the?
I have the website here, which I can show.
Great.
Which I think that might be it. Yeah. Here we go.
Great. So that's Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon, Helga is doing a second keynote. We have high-level speakers, official government representation from China and Russia. We have official representation from Syria, Dr. Butiana Shaban, and there will be others. I'm in Xinjiang province. So for all you people who've heard all these terrible things about how the Chinese are killing off the Uyghur population and putting them in camps and so on, this is a Pakistani colonel. Yes, as far as I know, he is also a Muslim. He has been there many times, and he can tell you the truth about that situation, which is that there's been a remarkable transformation of Xinjiang, and the people there have very much benefited from it. And then Richard Freeman, who is the co-author of the report on the Global Reset, the Great Leap Backward. Then panel 3, which is actually going to be called the Southwest Asia Crossroad, Pivot for War or Peaceful Development with the New Silk Road. Hussein Askari is our Arabic translator. He's originally from Iraq. He knows an enormous amount about the region. We have the Foreign Affairs Minister from Yemen. We have a member of the Iraqi parliament. So all of these things, all of this garbage that you've been hearing on the news media about this country, that country, what they're doing, what they're not doing, we're going to have actual high-level representation from these nations. And there will be discussion period. You can submit questions. We have retired Colonel and former State Senator Richard H. Black, who has spent, he's very knowledgeable about the situation in Syria. He's a decorated Vietnam War veteran. And then Jacques Cheminade, who is the president of our party in France, the founder of our party in France. So that's at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, this is the Committee for the Coincidence of Opposites, which Helga founded. And well, I could say a lot, but Jose, maybe you want to say something about this.
Yeah, no, this panel is the Committee for the Coincidence of Opposites. And what's extraordinary about it is that all of these people, they're doctors and they're educated in this field, in the health field, and all of them are coming together to basically say, what are we about to do and to stop this pandemic? They ask the important questions, like, for example, why is it that we should be aware of what's going on in other countries and developing countries that don't have great tracking capabilities? So we really don't know the number of deaths and infections that are going on in other countries. And that's a problem because of mutations. I mean, you have the mutation problem where it could get so bad to where we might need a new vaccine or something, or people might be isolated again for another year, which would be terrible if we have to quarantine for another 2 years. And they also raise the importance of understanding and building tracking and vaccinating people here, because we haven't been doing, as one of the panelists will point out, we haven't been doing all that much research into our own mutations here in America. What kind of mutations has America developed? How great of a track are we keeping it? How great of track are we keeping in analyzing people who are sick, checking what kind of mutations they have or haven't had. I know, and just on a personal experience, I mean, I was sick last month for a couple weeks, and my COVID results would come back negative, yet every doctor in the world looked at my blood samples and said, no, this has to be COVID, but you're testing negative. So what's going on here? And at the end of the day, it was inconclusive as to what I really had. So did I have some kind of mutation? Did I just have the flu? I don't know. But see, that's the thing. We aren't really looking into what's going on more in detail as we should be. And so this panel not only raises these questions, but also provides the solutions as to how we can get the thing going, not just here, but in other countries and in other continents as well. So yeah, it's kind of
also on this panel will be a group of American farmers who are becoming an endangered species because totally outrageously, and we can take the Schiller thing down now so people watching can see our lovely faces. While we have 270 million people facing death by starvation, the Biden executive order has something in it called 30 by 30 by 30, which is to take 30% of land, 30% of the oceans out of any possibility of ever being used by human beings by 2030. So you have a genocide policy, and they are telling farmers that they cannot get loans unless they cut the production in their land. So here you have people facing starvation, and they're trying to get the farmers to not produce food. And as everyone may know, or you should know, the farmers already are paid very often well below the cost of production. And it's the middleman, and it won't surprise you, the big cartels, the Wall Street bankers that are making all the money. And they're also lying to you because they don't have to label the meat, for example, in the grocery store. They don't have to tell you if it's actually from Namibia, where 25% of the population is malnourished, and they're exporting beef to the United States. So the conference is just going to be tremendous. Everyone should be there. 10 a.m. tomorrow, 10 a.m. Sunday, schillerinstitute.com. And unless there's any questions, I think we're going to log off. Are there any questions there? If you have questions on YouTube, put them in the chat.
Let's see here. We have somebody here. We have Judy Clark, who says, have been sending along Diane Sayre's invitation to the conference this weekend and talking with people that have been met at some of these rallies that you have addressed, Diane.
Oh, so, good. Great. Yeah. Well, I hope all of them are going to be at the conference. I don't see any comments on Facebook except for the comment that I put about how to find out about the conference. So I think with that, we will conclude so people can prepare and get ready. Do whatever you have to do now, because once you start listening tomorrow, you're going to want to stay in your seat and watch. So schillerinstitute.com, 10 a.m. tomorrow. And then we'll be back with the regular Sayre for Senate New York symposium next week. And thank you, Jose, very much for joining me.
Okay. Thank you all.